morning, good afternoon, or good wherever you are. Welcome to Alexa Developer Office Hours. I am your host today, Amanda Lang, and with me I have two guests today, John and Sid. We're going to get right to it, and we're going to be talking today about ISP and monetization. We've had Sid on the show before, but we have some updates for you and some cool ways that we can talk about how to make money with your Alexa skills. So thank you so much for coming on the show, folks.
Hey, Amanda. Always a pleasure to be here.
Hello.
Yeah, it's great to have you. How's your holiday planning going?
Just we recently had Diwali, which is a big Indian festival, and that for us was a huge deal. Had a bunch of
Yeah.
friends over the weekend, and now diving right post that into Thanksgiving. So seems to be a fun November.
Oh, wow. Yeah, we used to live in a neighborhood with several Indian families right across the block from us, and those lights would go up, and we'd think, "Oh, Christmas lights are early." No, it's Diwali lights. Those are up. Those are up at the right time. So, and they would set off fireworks and everything. So,
Yeah, those lights will last into Christmas, by the way. So
right,
you're
right.
covered
They
as well.
stay up the lights. It's always beautiful. It's always a wonderful time. Well, it sounds like you're very busy then.
John, how about you?
Just getting ready for Thanksgiving with my family. My parents are going to visit, so all great.
Oh, that's exciting. We're so happy. I've been talking about this a little bit, but we're building a movie theater in our basement. So we're getting the final couch installed this Friday, and then we're going to spend the whole break watching movies and anime and stuff in our basement theater. It's going to be really fun.
Wonderful way to spend the holidays. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Hopefully we can have our family over and they can all enjoy it over Christmas time. Fingers crossed.
Sure.
They'll come out. Well, let's talk about Alexa development. I know we've had some, updates and changes. Things are moving very rapidly here behind the scenes for all of us. But I'd like to talk a little bit about what we're here to talk about today, which is in-skill monetization, in-skill purchasing, everything y'all do as part of the team. So if we could just do a quick overview, both of you, about your roles, just in case the audience doesn't know, where you come to us from.
Yeah. Hey, everyone. I'm Sid. I'm a product manager with the Alexa monetization team. Been with the team for now about 2.5 years, so exceptionally familiar with monetization. And I've spoken to a number of developers here that attend office hours and potentially hit us up on Slack as well. So always looking for feedback whenever and wherever you all can reach us.
Hi, my name is John, and I manage monetization, entitlement, and experiences team for 3P developers. So monetization using developer console, entitlement, whenever you try to make a purchase inside the skill, you check if customer is entitled or not. I have been with the team for almost 2 years now.
Cool. So since we last met and talked about ISPs, which was a couple of months ago, what has the team been working on? What's new and cool with you?
John, do you want to go with that?
Sure. So we are now working on a feature called bundles, and a developer will be able to bundle up their products together for one or multiple skills and offer it as a product to customers to buy on retail web or via voice, multimodal. And they'll be able to set it up using developer console. So which is nice and convenient and a friendly UI. So this feature is in the making right now. And we're working on it very fast. We'll have a beta released soon.
Can you give an example of how a developer might use bundles to increase their monetization?
Sure. Sid, would you like to?
Sure, absolutely. So Amanda, there's in fact even a recently published article on the developer blog post about a developer called Hugo.fm that's been basically doing bundling in some sense already. So that would be a helpful start, especially for some of our developers. But one big thing is basically if you're a developer that has over, let's say, 4 or 5 skills, and each skill has 2 or 3 ISPs in it, I think a common problem that's come up that developers have reached out to us about is that's just a lot of products to be able to upsell to customers. And sometimes it just gets exceptionally hectic for a customer to be able to manage 5 or 6 different subscriptions. I know I struggle with it, especially when it comes to managing Netflix versus Universal versus HBO. And so it absolutely makes sense when a developer reaches out and says, hey, is there a better way to be able to do this? And so as a result, what we're trying to do is basically allow developers to be able to take all of their different ISP products across all of their different skills and combine it all together as a single bundle. So now, at the end of the day, all you have to do is sell a single product to a customer. And the moment a customer buys that product, they have access to all the different ISPs across all the different skill types. From a customer perspective, it's a huge win. You only have to manage one single product. And if you have to ever cancel that or upgrade the subscription, it's again just a single point of contact that you have to engage with. So for a customer, it's a huge win. Even from a developer, if you're trying to sell multiple different products, you also have to manage different marketing messages. You have to manage different upsell intents and cancellation intents. What we're saying is just build a single unified purchase intent, upsell intent, and a cancellation intent. And then again, all you have to do is worry about a single product. How you manage that product is more a back-end problem, and that's still something that we can easily support. However, it just makes it easier is you're selling one single product to a customer is managing one single product, and that makes life easier for everyone around. One of the links that you just posted talks about how Hugo.fm's been doing that by themselves. So they built a very similar concept to what we have, just a very bespoke solution just for themselves. And they're seeing a significant amount of traffic coming into that experience. And customers are happy to be able to buy that bundle. And so what we're trying to do is just try and scale this process and make sure that it's easier for any developer, regardless of your technical expertise, to be able to start with this bundling concept.
Very cool. Yeah, I can see where if somebody has multiple subscriptions that they want people to sign up for, it's much easier to say, hey, instead of each of these being $2 a month, why don't we just give you the $5 a month package and you can have access to multiple subscriptions. It's also a nice way to kind of offer a stealth discount, right?
Exactly right. And that's the intention is a number of our partners have products priced at, let's say, $5 for each different ISP. Now, you may have to still do the math depending on what your financial model looks like on your end. But typically, a number of these bundles are at a significant discount. And what we tend to do, especially to be able to highlight the value to a customer, is demonstrate that discount savings as well, especially when we present the offer to a customer. So we say, hey, you know what? All the products inside this bundle, if you sum it up, were to cost X dollars, and now there's a strike through, there's a 75% discount or whatever it is that you finally decide to be the price of your bundle. And accordingly, that makes for just better value proposition for customers.
Yeah, it makes for something nice to display on the skill page to say, hey, this is a special discount. If you buy all three, you get, if you buy all three, it's 50% off or something like that. Really cool.
Exactly. And so right now, as John mentioned, we're still looking at testing this out. And so we're slowly opening up our preview for more and more developers to be a part of this. But our ideal case that we're working backwards from is in 2024 to be able to try and just make this much more scalable and easier for every single partner to be able to onboard onto.
Is there any trick to getting onboarded to that, or should they get in touch with you on the Slack channel or something?
No, absolutely. They're more than welcome to be able to get in touch with us over Slack. We definitely just want to make sure that, again, since this is a preview, there are certain criteria that need to be met for every partner to be able to come on board. But we're more than happy to be able to evaluate each use case as it comes across our table.
I'm sure you're looking for high quality skills with the variety of ISP that makes sense to bundle, right?
Correct. And then again, at the end of the day, it's all about the traffic number. So in order for a bundle to make sense, you need to have multiple different skills, multiple different ISP products. And again, I think the use cases to be able to convert all of that high volume traffic that's coming your way to be able to buy a single product rather than having to split all of that different traffic across multiple different products and different product types. So I think that makes for a more compelling reason to want to get into bundling if you already have that problem to begin with.
Really cool. Hopefully that makes a lot of sense for some of the developers out there that are selling multiple things with their skill. There's something else you've been working on too with regard to data?
Correct. So we are in process of migrating the data for earnings and payments that can be viewed on Developer Console right now. You can see it, you can download report. So once we take full ownership of this data, we'll be able to not only modify reports, add more options for you. We'll be able to give you detailed information on the subscriptions, what's happening, and then developers will be able to slice and dice this data and figure out patterns. And also in the future, we are planning to expose APIs so developers can have direct access to the data as well.
Yeah,
that's great news.
As John was mentioning, the big challenge that developers have, and that's fair, is just getting a little bit more understanding as to how their earnings and payments are coming in. Not that the developer docs aren't detailed, but they're looking for an additional level of granularity that so far we've been just trying to figure out how to be able to present better to developers. As a result of that, John and his team have been doing some amazing work on just cleaning up all of our data sources to make sure that going forward, developers can directly use an API instead of logging into Developer Console and looking at all of their data. They can use some sort of API to be able to pull all of that data and make sure that if they want, they can create their own custom tables and reports. That just makes their life much easier. We're noticing a lot more developers, as they move away from that nascent stage of Alexa skill building, are very comfortable getting hands-on, and in several cases have reached out to us saying, hey, can we double click on this data further? Because we're building our own ML teams in the background. We have our own BI engineers. And as a result of that, we need a lot more data in order to be able to go back to optimizing our skills and building better ISP products. So both these features, this one and even the one that we covered in the previously, the bundling feature, are directly from developers. And that's what we want to do at the end of the day, is make sure that we listen to them and provide them with exactly what they need.
It's great to hear that the feedback our developers give everybody is actually being used and helping make a better product. I think sometimes developers don't know necessarily that the loop is closed on that. We get a lot of feedback from developers, but we try to listen to everything that everybody has to say in terms of feature requests, in terms of stuff they'd like to see. But sometimes it takes a little while for us to follow through. But we're here to say, here's a feature that you asked for, that you wanted, that we are working on making, that we're going to make better for you, just to get those analytics that people really want. I know in a lot of cases we have developers out there who are rolling their own in terms of analytics because they really want a little bit more data and they don't know where to get it. So we want to provide that for developers as well, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So what tools are you working on right now and utilities that are going to help out with this process?
John, do you want to cover that data migration?
Yeah. Sure. So utilities-wise, as Sid mentioned, APIs, as well as the direct download from the developer console. They'll download into a CSV file, and then can they do whatever they want with it.
Another thing that we're working on is just the whole, and I know LLM is a big buzzword. Right. A lot of teams are talking about it. I think we're taking a lot of lessons from what retail is doing for vendors. And I don't know if some of the developers have had a chance to be able to look at the cool stuff that's being built there. But just being able to provide a lot more analytics and insights. I know developers do rely on skill insights to be able to make a decision as to how they should be modifying their skill. On our end, what we're trying to do is just run a number of experiments to be able to see if there is anything that we can use generative LLMs for, to be able to provide developers with more insights on what's working on Developer Console. And again, a lot of this has been done with Amazon.com and the retail side of the world, where now you get a lot more clear analytics and insights as to what you should be doing to sell a product. I think that's something that we want to take forward even on the Alexa side, is figure out how we can just provide better reports. And as a result of that, something that we always talk about is we should be constantly updating skill content, because that's what makes for a better customer experience. And the only way to be able to do that is to be able to give those developers tools to be able to update marketing messages more regularly, potentially use some sort of generative AI to be able to help with that updation of the marketing message. Be able to build better creative assets that can be displayed in APL templates on EFTs. So all of that is still something that's still under the hood right now. We're trying to figure out what's the best way to be able to surface this with developers. But that's at least the direction our team's starting to think. John, is there anything else that you'd like to add?
Correct. We can also hook up LLM to developer console, and maybe it can do the analysis of your skill and figure out, well, you can find a good way to monetize it. It's free right now, but what if you monetize it and we can change your code a little bit to help you and you can make some money off it?
Interesting. So you're basically looking at it from a couple different angles. What if the LLM could help you revise your pitch? I know a lot of cases, like say you're posting something on the marketplace, whatever little bit of text you have there is a big attractor to whether or not people click on it, whether or not people follow through. And sometimes you might want to change that up and experiment with different ways of pitching your skill, essentially, right?
Absolutely. In fact, if you look at, again, the retail side of the business, and I used to work in retail with Amazon.com, so that's why a lot of my analogies come from there.
Right.
But if you even look at it from a customer perspective right now, and you look at the reviews that are there on different products, we've started to use LLM to be able to summarize those reviews for customers so that they clearly understand what the positives of the reviews are and the negatives are, rather than having to go through all of those different reviews. And that's something that we want to do, especially when it comes to developer console as well, is would there be a better way to be able to just summarize all of your reviews so you don't really have to focus on reading each individual review, but as a developer, great, this is where I'm seeing higher levels of latency, or this is where customers are unhappy in terms of the frequency of the number of times of being upsold. And so just taking cues from there and trying to see how we can port it over to developer console is something that we're giving a lot more thought to.
Interesting. It's looking like there's going to be some big changes possibly next year, or small changes, incremental changes.
It's unfortunately, I don't have a timeline by when I can come back to the developers by, but it's definitely something that we're thinking of trying to implement as soon as possible.
And I'm curious to know, anybody out there in the big world that's watching our show, are you using LLMs as this, something to sound off on in terms of getting ideas for your skills, or in terms of finding ways to pitch your skill with different text? I know that there's it's not just the interaction with it, but also like what it generates that sometimes can be really valuable to developers. And I know that I've gone in and, for example, hey, I need some quick CSS to mock up a website. It's really fast to ask the LLM to do that. But I'm curious to know what people are using it for. I know that also Jeff B said sometimes he would actually ask it for variant phrases for for the Alexa to say. So that's pretty cool. So changing tracks just a little bit to, I think, a big question we have all on our minds right now. Earlier, top of the call, I was talking about how it's almost the holiday season. This is a big time for shopping. The biggest time for shopping. So as we're moving into this Christmas holiday, whatever you celebrate, people are buying stuff. What is the best way to make use of this season to really upsell and get my skill making money?
Yeah, so again, this is something that John's team worked on. Last year, we announced something called Alexa Skill Deals, which was a way to be able to temporarily discount a number of your products. And again, the intention there was for these kinds of time periods: holidays, Thanksgivings, Alexa's birthday. We've even seen developers discount their skills during their birthday as well. So it's not just an Alexa-oriented thing.
I like that.
Yes, Skill Deals was something that was announced last year, and especially when Skill Deals run during holiday periods, we've seen developers' sales increase by nearly 40%, especially with that discounted price offering. And again, this goes back to something I said at the beginning of the call, is those strike-through prices that I was talking about is something that's available in Skill Deals as well. But that really convinces a customer that there is a significant reason to be able to buy this product, especially because it's running for a limited time period. And again, skill deals can be set up in such a way that you can run these skill deals for anywhere from the next 5 days, or if you want to do that, or if you want to run a 3-month skill deal, that's fine as well. And it's something that we support out of the box. It's available on Developer Console. You can go in, set up your skill deal using a very easy to use interface. And then have it automatically discount the price during the time period which you set up the deal for. And then once the deal is complete, it reverts back to the original price. So it's kind of a set and forget kind of mechanism that we've created. And it's something that a number of developers have been using, especially during high traffic periods. So that's something that we definitely encourage developers to explore as we go into the holidays. Another thing that we've been doing this year is just trying to figure out how do you better optimize your monetization techniques, for want of a better word. And as a result of that, what we've been doing is just reviewing a number of upsell messages that developers have been providing to customers, and trying to compare them against their purchase conversion rates to see what resonates better with customers and what doesn't. And as a result of that, again, it's in the blog post and the link that Amanda, you recently shared. But there are 5 key tips that we'd love to be able to give developers, especially when we go into details about the upsell message, which for all intents and purposes is the first way to be able to engage with a customer. And so I think I'd love to be able to start with them if you'd let me go down that route.
Yeah, absolutely. If you look at the page that I just linked, the blog articles, right at the top is an ISP monetization tips article, but there's actually several of them if you scroll down. So there's quite a few that's been posted recently. So yeah, what are those best tips and tips and tricks for upselling? I'd love to hear. I'm sure the audience would like to hear as well.
Yeah, I think the upsell message is usually the part that's the most complicated to get right as well, just given the amount of time that you have to be able to present that to customers. Something that we've always recommended is keep your upsell messages between 30 to 45 seconds at maximum. Because after that, that's just a lot of information for Alexa to be providing to a customer for them to be able to keep track of. I mean, think of it as just another person having a conversation with you, and post a minute, it becomes sometimes hard to be able to just process all that information coming your way. And so that's something that we'd really encourage developers to go back to and make sure that your message is concise and complete, and doesn't go beyond that 30 to 45 second time limit. And just making sure that it is complete. And when I say complete, it's basically talking about what are the key highlights that separate the free version of your skill from that premium version of your skill. Because that's what customers are looking for is, hey, why should I pay this additional amount of money when I can get all of this for free? So just focusing and doubling down on those key value propositions is essential to be able to convince that customer. Another one is just having multiple versions of that upsell message, and remembering which upsell message you've provided to a customer already, or even using a random function to be able to just provide different upsell messages to customers, just so that Alexa and the skill doesn't sound robotic. It feels at least more natural. LLMs are doing great work with randomizing content and creating new content each and every time. We'd encourage developers to be able to use that as another way to be able to just keep your upsell messages fun and fresh. And I think the third one, I know I said that 30 to 45 seconds is a lot for Alexa to be able to spit out. I'm taking more than that amount of time to be able to give content or advice to developers. So I'm not taking my own advice, but keeping that in mind, I think another upsell message that would really be helpful is just making sure that you time your upsells. Typically, don't hit your customers immediately right out of the gate the moment they've launched your skill with an upsell message. Maybe time that. Focus on the second or the third time when a customer launches your skill to be able to say, hey, this would be a better time to be able to upsell your skill or upsell your ISP product. Because they've had enough time to be able to engage with your skill and really understand the value proposition. I'll pause there. That was a lot to be able to share.
But was, I was thinking about this. When you call like a phone tree, like you're calling the bank or something, and they always say, please listen carefully because our options have changed. Typically the options have not changed. But they say that to make you pay attention in case you don't just rotely hit the same button over and over again. I mean, I'm sure that's the reason they do it. But with the Alexa devices, we can actually change the options every now and then, and actually have it say something different. And that has been proven to cause people to actually pay attention. Because if you hear the same phrase over and over again, you're kind of used to like, oh, this is what she's saying. This is what she's always going to say. I'm just going to say skip every single time. But if it's fresh, you're paying attention again. You're like, oh, it's never said that before. And it's maybe the same ultimately message, like, this is what the premium version of our program does. But if it's a different message, it causes people to stop and think, oh, it's something new. It's saying something different, as opposed to just rotely interacting with it in like you said, a robotic kind of way.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are
Right.
better ways to be able to do that also is make sure that you're not, it doesn't feel like your skill was designed to was designed solely to make developers money.
Right.
I think at the
Right.
end of the day, you always have to make sure that your customers feel, oh, I absolutely need to continue to support this developer by buying a subscription. But it shouldn't seem that every time I launch the skill, it's all about just trying to get me to be able to buy a product. And so sometimes your messages don't even have to be specific to buying a product. It could be something as simple as, hey, you know what? We do have a lot of premium content. If you're interested in it, why don't you say this particular phrase? So it's more a reminder message that's being set up rather than saying, hey, this is all the content that's available for you. Why don't you go ahead and make a purchase for it? And that way, at least a customer knows I have the ability to be able to take this forward. And potentially, I don't feel like the developers just trying to make a quick buck off of me, which isn't the right way to go about it.
Right. So the timing of that message is very important. You don't want to overly bombard your users with the upsell message.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, John, I'd love to get your perspective if you have a couple of tips on it. I know you've also spent a lot of time just building skills, and I'm sure the developer team would love to be able to hear from you as well.
So just to definitely support what you're saying, it did work for me. Initially, I used to attempt upsell immediately, but I was offering free trial, 1 week free trial with subscription. And the reaction, and I was posting on different subreddits, and the reaction I got is, well, I'm afraid to subscribe because then I'll be billed and I'll forget to cancel, even with 1 week free trial, I'm hesitant. So I opened up the content fairly recently, and I have a counter. Basically, I allow them to use it about 15 times, and then I do the upsell. And it seems now people who are converting, they're staying. So now they experienced the content, they like it, and they want to use it. So it definitely works. I'm very happy with that.
That's great. Now, I imagine that it's a little experimentation, right? Because maybe 15 times is what's right for your skill, but for other skill, it might be 10 times. For another skill, it might be 20 times.
Absolutely. So I think John brings up a great example, which is he does it from a counter perspective and takes it saying that after 15 times, you take that forward. We've had several developers even use a metric like the skill engagement minutes. And they set up a counter to be able to track how long a customer's been engaging with the skill and determine a threshold after a lot of testing to be able to say, you know what, it takes a customer 30 minutes at minimum to be able to understand the entire value proposition that I'm giving to a customer. And so they set a timer saying, until the customer doesn't hit that 30-minute mark, regardless of whether it's across 10 skill launches or 3 skill launches, I won't actually provide an upsell and take that conversation forward. Some developers have gone down the route of saying, until they reach a certain level, I won't hit them with an upsell, especially game developers say, until they hit this checkpoint where I know most customers tend to struggle with, I won't hit them with an upsell. It could be hints or it could be gems or whatever it is that your skill is trying to sell. So every developer is trying to optimize a different threshold to determine when to hit the upsell, but it's exceptionally important to know what your threshold is rather than use every opportunity to be able to provide an upsell to a customer. So it's a lot of experimentation. I like to think of it as the ABC, which is like always be changing in the sense as every single time your skill content, your upsell, your message, everything should continuously be changing. A good way to be able to see it is if you haven't updated any of your content within the last 3 months, that's a problem. And customers start to notice that immediately, and they want new and fresh content coming down their way. The earlier, the better.
Yeah, I think a lot of skill developers and app developers have all discovered that it is not fire and forget. You have to continually be working on improving that skill in any way just to make sure that, first of all, it looks fresh. It doesn't look like it's abandoned. If you haven't touched something in 6 months, you haven't touched something in a year, people will say, is this really still getting updates? Is this abandonware? Or, is the developer still supporting this? That kind of thing.
And another thing is always just being able to support other intents outside of buy intents. Say, for example, making sure that you have a cancellation intent, you have a subscription management intent that you're building within a skill. Again, obviously, the intention here is not to be able to make sure that a customer wants to cancel the product. You always want to make sure that your customers retain. But research has shown that customers want to know that they have the ability to do that, regardless of whether they want to execute that or not. That just makes the customer feel like, hey, this developer truly cares about me, and makes me feel like if for some reason I have an issue, it's easy for me to be able to exit out of this. And again, research shows that most customers don't tend to exercise that option. And they feel, hey, I'm protected. If at any point of time I need to cancel, I can. If at any point of time I need to remind myself what I've bought in this product, I can. So being able to support additional intents that I like to think of them as purchase tangential. They don't directly help with your purchase, but they make sure that they indirectly help your customers convert. And giving the customer that sense of security is paramount to be able to make a lot of money with Alexa. And that's what most of our successful developers have implemented. And customers enjoy that level of protection.
Right. It's like John was saying earlier, a lot of people won't sign up to a subscription if they think it's a trap that they won't be able to escape, right? Like if the whole point is I'm going to sign up to this subscription and then I'm going to not be able to cancel it, which I've had that happen with stuff online before, and it's very frustrating. You have to call their company or whatever and say, I really, really seriously want to cancel. I don't know how.
Correct.
Because people are more willing to go in if they know that they can change their mind later.
Absolutely. In fact, it's something that's as simple as, hey, if you can buy the product using your voice, you should be able to cancel the product using your voice as well. And that's something that even the certification team is going to be enforcing a lot more stricter regulations to make sure that that experience is maintained right from purchase all the way to cancellation as well. So our developer docs do mention how to implement cancellations, but it's something that certification is going to be over time sending that message back to developers and saying, hey, your ISP product, if you're looking to set it up, needs to have a cancellation intent by voice as well, to make it easier for customers to cancel should they choose to exercise that option.
So we have a question in the chat. I don't know if you can take this one or not. We'll see. We'll at least get you in the right direction. What about allowing paid skills to be advertised on your Amazon ads platform along with the regular retail products? Now, that's a bigger question, I think.
Yeah, it's not our team that's taking that forward, but we're happy to be able to connect you if you reach out to us over Slack to have a conversation. There is a product in place that's again right now in beta, and so some customers and developers may be seeing it on their EFTs, where you may see a banner next to it that says promoted skills. So we're happy to be able to connect you with the team to be able to understand what its future charter is. But it's something that customers have started to see, especially when it comes to promoting skills which have ISP products in them.
Right.
So yeah, feel free to reach out to us and we'll help you with that.
Yeah, we have a promoted skill program. It's been going on for a little bit. Not everybody, is on board to that, but if you have questions about it, good chance to reach out to these folks on Slack. We'll get you pointed in the right direction. It's cool to see it like when you have I have the Echo Show. So you just see it like pop up on the sidebar, like, hey, have you considered trying this? Have you considered trying that? So yeah,
correct.
We do have some of those.
And our intention is to be able to do that. One is definitely from an engagement perspective, especially on an ISP side. What we want to do is see if we can leverage any of that promoted skill tech to be able to see if we can use it to be able to re-engage customers who've used these skills in the past. For now, promoted skills are a great way to be able to drive discovery to your skills. However, we want to see if we can actually do it. We can take it a step forward and also use it for retention and for monetization as well. So still a lot of stuff in the works right now, but feel free to reach out to us to be able to understand how you can potentially get onboarded onto it.
So before we finish out for today, we actually have some questions for the chat and for the larger world, which we're going to kind of discuss a little bit here. First of all, if developers are interested in any one-on-one office hours with the team, we still are doing those, I believe, right?
That's correct. John, do you want to take that?
So I do join different forums, and be it via Slack or Reddit. I'm out there, but I will do it more formally. But Sid gave me access, so I will be joining more formally from now on. And if you see me there, definitely ask me a question. I'll be more than happy to answer.
Yeah, we do have an ISP Slack channel as well, but the easiest way to be able to just reach out to us would just directly ping either me or John to be able to have a conversation as to what you're struggling with, especially when it comes to monetization. Again, given that John has spent a significant amount of time developing skills as well, I'm sure he's gone through all the issues that a developer may face. And so I know when I have a problem, especially when it comes to an issue, I reach out to John and get his perspective on it. So he's a great resource to be able to tap into.
Yeah, so if anybody wants to do one-on-one office hours or reach out to this team, also keep in mind we are on Stack Overflow now. So if you have questions that are technical in nature, you can post them on Stack Overflow. If they're more about like best practices for monetization or what my upsell should be or whatever, best to just contact us directly about those, because those are not necessarily technical questions, but they are questions that we're eager to help out with answering.
Absolutely.
Seeing another question on Twitch, unrelated question. My skill keeps getting rejected because our documentation fails to provide documentation in the form of a signed confirmation letter or license agreement from the brand owner. So that is a certification question. Now we're going to have certification on our next show. So certification questions, they'll be happy to answer. But I don't know that that's necessarily a sample of that letter. But I know that if you are making anything that like uses a brand, and you have the rights to that brand, you have to provide some kind of official word that you have the rights to that brand. So say it was like a baseball team. You can make the unofficial team app and just call it the unofficial, like the unofficial Star Wars trivia skill that Jeff B had. It just had unofficial because it wasn't supported by the brand. That's the thing that you can do if you don't have access to the brand. If you do have access to the brand, you need the brand owners say so that you have the rights to use that particular trademark. So it is definitely on a case by case basis, but you definitely need to be sure that you are covered to use that brand. If not, you want to call it the unofficial something something. And if you have specific questions about that, we do have contact us. There's always a form you can fill out saying, hey, I have this specific question. You can do a contact us and say, like, what specifically does this need to say? But generally, it means that, like, if that brand is owned by somebody, it's got to be, like, on their letterhead saying, yeah, you have access to using this brand. Otherwise, you're going to call it unofficial. And I don't know what brands it is. You'll have to work that out with, whatever brand you have access to. But if it's their official thing, they need to vouch for you, basically.
Is Jeff's unofficial app still there?
The Star Wars one? Sure, because it's unofficial. Yeah. If you say this is a fan-based thing, it's totally fine to do that. But you just have to indicate that you don't have the rights to that particular brand.
It's just really fun skill to engage with. So
it is. It is. The Star Wars trivia is very fun. Where's the contact us form? So that is in your developer console. So there's a contact us in your developer console that you can click on and send it to our DAG team. And just explain your problem and say, I have this issue. This is the thing I'm trying to do. Can you let me know like how we can move forward? These should be in the console for you. So, and good luck. If you have any more direct questions, we do have a Slack community. You could always ping me and the other people there, and we can give you like more details about what we're looking for. Usually our team is pretty well on it. For all those questions that are not necessarily technical in nature, like the one that you have, we have this. Yep, there we go. That's it. Alexa.design/contact us. Thank you.
Christian Science Radio.
Oh, Alexa, stop. I forgot to turn her off today. Normally she doesn't interrupt me like that. I usually mute her before the call. Sure. Now where were we? Oh, last question that I had for y'all, and then it's also another question for chat. Code samples. Where can I find up-to-date code samples about how to do the ISP? I'm going to guess they're going to be on our GitHub, right?
John, go for it.
So GitHub is one of the places to go. Also, in general, just there's a Alexa Skills subreddit forum that I go to.
Okay.
There is also an official, obviously, the Slack channel. Maybe somebody there can respond with a good example. But in general, I would type it in Google and a lot of things come up.
Oh, Just Google it.
I think something that we're also open to is hearing from developers, and again, through any of these channels that John mentioned, as to the exact code snippets that you're looking for. And if it's something that we can create from our side and have them uploaded to GitHub, we'd be happy to do that. I think what we're trying to figure out is, where do you feel, especially when it comes to ISP, developers face the most friction? And as a result of that, we can see what exists. We do build a lot of sample skills on our side, especially when it comes to QA testing. John's also exceptionally familiar with skills. And so we have a lot of the code written. It's more just trying to determine which is the path that developers struggle with, and accordingly create snippets that we can present. So reach out to us, let us know where you're struggling, and we can potentially come back to you with the exact code samples that you're looking for.
Yeah, if you check out the GitHub that we just linked in the chat there. If you didn't see it, github.com/Alexa samples. So we have a github.com/Alexa, and then we have a github.com/Alexa-samples, which is the other one that we have two of those. We actually have multiple, but that's where you're going to find a lot of the code snippets that might help you get started with ISPs on the samples GitHub there. And if there's something there that's missing for you, that maybe we haven't provided for you,
awesome,
and that you need to see an example of, tell us, because we can do those. We can create new samples. We could add those to the GitHub. If there's something, I don't understand how to do the randomized upsell, for example, or whatever it is, throw that in there. And we'll get back to you and say, like, okay, maybe we can write a quick code sample for that. If one person is struggling, I think the feedback, a lot of times when you see feedback that says one person's struggling with this, the kind of assumption is they're just the first person to speak out. And maybe
sure,
other people were also struggling with the same problem.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think those are all the questions that I had for you today, but I'm curious to know if anybody else in chat has any more questions for our guests before we finish up. We've got about 15 minutes left on the show. If we want, if anybody has questions, let us know. What do y'all, any other, I guess I already asked about you next week, because we're all going to be taking a couple of days off next week. But let us know what the future is going to bring for this stuff, particularly for the holiday season. I know everybody's really excited to be able to buy stuff and also maybe make a little extra money, make a little extra cash for the holidays.
Yeah, my intention is just to be able to get more vested in the whole LLM space and really try and figure out what we can do. In fact, I was just trying to use LLM also to be able to figure out new skill ideas and new skill names. All of that is something that potentially we want to try and obviously implement within Developer Console as well. But it's already a great start for us. And again, outside of my role at Amazon, I just want to spend a lot more time ramping up on that space, because this world is just exceptionally changing quickly.
Very much so.
Need to know a lot more of what's happening there.
There's a lot of cool stuff that you can do with LLMs that you couldn't do 6 months ago, and it seems like it's moving very, very fast in that part of the world. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Internally, something that we've started to use is for birthday greeting cards. Some of our tech is being repurposed internally within the team as an experiment to be able to see how we can quickly generate birthday greeting cards for all of our colleagues and stakeholders within Amazon itself. And just being able to provide a prompt and have a custom image generated and a custom message generated is just a really exciting proposition. And it would have saved me a ton of time when writing thank you cards post the wedding. So it's really worth it.
It matters that you handwrite the thank you cards, though. It comes from the heart that way, even though it's very tedious. I remember doing that too. All the little handwritten thank you notes. It's such a pain, but you do them. It's part of life. But people appreciate getting that customized. But the customized birthday card. Yeah, I could see that being very useful. There's a skill idea too. Maybe customized birthday messages for family and friends.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, it's been great chatting about this with y'all today. It was great having you. John, before I let you go, is there any kind of new... You're developing skills all the time. Is there any cool skill idea you're working on right now that you can share with us, or is it not ready for prime time yet?
So I'm ready to experiment with LLM myself. I just want to see what I can build and, publish it out there and see what happens.
Oh, okay. I'm excited to see what you make. I'm excited to see what everybody makes, actually. I think a lot of the early LLM skills have just been like, ask the LLM anything. And I think that that's a little bit limited in terms of like
Sure.
when I'm given that such a blank canvas, I don't really know what to do with it. But I think if it's like more specific, like ask the LLM to make exactly this or answer exactly this series of questions, I think there's a lot of potential there for what you can do. Like as an example, like as a toy collector, I like asking questions about toys, right? Or
Yeah,
I like
absolutely.
asking questions about the video games that I'm playing or stuff I'm cooking. I have asked that a lot. So if anybody could create
Sure.
like the perfect baking LLM, that would be great.
Yeah. Hopefully next time John's on, we can talk about the new skills that John's building.
Yeah, John, I'd love to hear more about what you're working on. But if you have any questions about in-skill purchases, reach out to this team. They are the pros. They will help you get started with your upskill, your upsell, deciding what to sell, deciding even figuring out price points, all kinds of great useful tips for, because everybody has a different threshold of what price point would be right. Depends a lot on what you're selling, whether it's a repeat sale. We have the ability to sell consumables in our skills, but we have discovered that subscriptions is pretty much the way to go for most ISPs because people like that stability of knowing how much they're going to be charged, I think.
Exactly, absolutely. Subscriptions are the number one thing that most developers have also started to implement. It also helps for a developer to have just a steady state of revenue coming in each and every month. However, again, the big downside with subscriptions, I wouldn't call it a downside, but the big point to focus on with the subscription is you can't let the content stagnate. And as a result of which, a customer expects every month, at least once every 2 months or so, for that skill content to be refreshed. And again, think of it as seasonal updates. It could be holiday updates. It could be just even changes to different texts or levels. But if your customer feels that, hey, this isn't working out immediately, you'll start to see customers churn from your subscription. And so it goes back to the same thing as just make sure that you always keep updating your content regularly and let the customer know that that content has been updated.
Right. If it's like a trivia skill or something and they keep hearing the same questions, they're not going to stay subscribed. They're going to say,
"Oh, I hit," because they're always going to get the answers right. But
but then they'll say,
"Oh, stop."
I'm bored now. I've hit the end of this application's content. I guess I'll unsubscribe, which is kind of not what you want because then you're going to start losing customers. So that's the point where you say, okay, I better add new questions as an example of something you could do. So 100%. Always be updating. Booba, I just need more time, but I have a rather awesome Alexa skill LLM I've actually used. Oh, I'm excited to see it. Hopefully we'll get to see it when it's ready to go and when you're ready to get it through that certification. We'll, let us know when we can preview it. If anybody's working on something interesting out there, you can always let us know. It's really exciting to see what people are making, and I'm excited to see what the future is going to hold for everybody. So,
sounds perfect.
Thank you so much for being on the show today. Appreciate it. Thank you so much from down the road in the main line. Oh yeah, well, then we're not to if we're not too far from each other. Yes, I am near the PA main line. So, that's the region that I'm living in.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we're all over because you said you're in Austin,
in Seattle, and then John's in Irvine.
Oh, Irvine. Oh, okay. I thought So weather's bad, weather's nice. Right here it's mild. It's chilly but not bad. So I guess I'm in the middle. Fine. Well, have a great rest of your day. Happy holidays. Folks in chat, we're going to see you next show, certification chat. We'll catch you next time on Alexa Developer Office Hours. Take care, everybody.
Sounds great. Bye.